right, Go Fish, episode 4. And today's message is all about how to help the hopeless. We've got a great passage from Matthew chapter 9.
Yep.
And this is where Jesus had an encounter with a person who was hopeless, spiritually and physically.
Yes.
And but Jesus had time for him. His friends had time to bring him to Jesus, and miraculous things happened. So we want to kick it off today by just asking you to read Matthew 9, 1 through 8, and see this amazing situation where Jesus was helping a hopeless person.
So our first point today is realizing that our only hope is in Jesus. And in this passage, as you've just read, these friends saw their buddy there that had paralyzed legs and had no other way to get help. And they figured out a way. They climbed up on the roof, put a hole in there, let him down, and they found victory there in Jesus Christ. And so... we find ourselves, I think, in situations where there's absolutely no other way. And that's the best place for the Lord to work right there when we give it to him and recognize that.
It's a great point. Yeah, and how they were definitely convinced that Jesus was the only hope because they went to great lengths to get their paralyzed friend to Jesus.
Yeah, they did.
So realize Jesus is our only hope. A great discussion, good discussion question for this one could be: what are we tempted to put our hope in besides Jesus? Whether it be money or power or other things, what are some things that we're tempted to put our hope in besides Jesus? So points 2 and 3 go together really well. Ask God to burden our hearts for those that need his healing. And clearly this paralyzed man's friends were burdened for him. And then create ways to connect people to Jesus, point number 3. And certainly these friends did that. They connected their paralyzed friend to Jesus. And it's amazing what can happen when we're willing to recognize a need and then connect those people to Jesus.
We were just talking about this the other day, actually, with ways that we can help people connect with others that need the Lord. And our church is constantly providing ways that we can connect with people through different events, of course, through our regular Sunday services, groups where there's special needs. So those are some creative ways, but we all have many other ways that we can think of.
Yeah.
And making friends and then helping them to see their need for Jesus, connecting them with him. Absolutely.
So a good discussion could be, is there someone that comes to mind for you right now that needs Jesus or has a need? And maybe share and pray for that person. And then how can you connect that person to Jesus? And Steve mentioned a few ways. What are some other ways that you could connect the person in your life who has a need to Jesus?
So our last point here, it goes to this verse, the same passage that we talked about in Matthew is also talked about in Mark. And Mark 2:12 says, the man jumped up, grabbed his mat, and walked out through the stunned onlookers. They were stunned.
I can imagine. A paralyzed man was just healed right in front of them.
So what an amazing event. And it says the people say, we've never seen anything like this before. And so what a victory, that they were able to see a supernatural event take place, an actual miracle that Jesus did. And so we need to celebrate that. You know, Jesus does things all the time in our lives and with
Absolutely.
those around us. And when he does that, we need to be celebrating. So,
Yeah, and it's pointed out in verse 12, they were amazed and praised God. So they were celebrating. And I think a great thing to do right now, wherever you are, is take a moment, if you're with some people, celebrate some life change that has happened either in your life or in somebody's life that you know. If you're just by yourself, this could be a great social media post. Do something to celebrate what God is doing or has done in your life.